Welcome, welcome, welcome to Queen's Lariat Podcast. I'm your host, AJ, and in today's episode, I'm going to talk about three wrestlers who I think are underrated and underappreciated. We're going to take a wrestler from Stardom, Marigold, and WWE, and I'm going to talk about why I think these wrestlers are awesome and why you should go out of your way to go watch some of their matches. Okay, before we start the discussion, I want to talk a little about this weekend's big wrestling event, the Royal Rumble. Not who I think is going to win or any prediction per se, but I just want to speak a little bit about who, like any surprises I want to see or, just talk a little bit about the Rumble. So if you don't know what the Royal Rumble is, it is, I would say, WWE's second biggest event of the year after WrestleMania. That is basically two huge battle royales, one for the men's, one for the women's, and it's a 30-person over-the-top battle royale, and the winner gets a match at Mania for a championship of their choosing. So I just want to talk a little bit about the women's match. I know a lot of people are excited to see like returns from like Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss. But one that I haven't heard anybody talking about that I'm hoping, I don't know if she's still injured or not, but I'm kind of hoping to see is Asuka, the return of the Empress of Tomorrow. Asuka is probably my favorite wrestler, and she's been gone for quite some time. I can't remember how long it's been, but I know right after Backlash in France, she she's been out. But I I'm I just can't wait for her to come back, and I'm hoping that is a surprise at the Rumble. Some other names I'm looking forward to seeing hopefully show up. Of course, Jordan Grace. We all know her contract with TNA is up, and I'm hoping this is where she officially makes her WWE debut as a member of the WWE roster. Other names would be like Masha Slamovich, the current Knockouts champion. Some other names from TNA would be good as well. Tasha Steelz would be good to see there. But I'm just excited for the Rumble this year. Also, some NXT names would be cool to see, but we'll see what happens at the Rumble this Saturday. All right. So now that we're done talking a little bit about the Rumble, um, I'm going to just go straight into our podcast, our underappreciated and underrated wrestlers. So, the first person I want to talk about is one of my top 5 wrestlers right now from Stardom, Suzu Suzuki. So, when I first started watching Stardom back in 2023, probably right off the rip, I was looking for, you know, not like the big names that everybody hear about. Like at the time, you had Julia, and you had Tommy, and you had Suri, and you had Miyu Iwatani, and names like that. I was looking for the girls that I haven't heard of myself. And the first wrestler that stood out to me in that regard was Suzu Suzuki. She was my favorite Stardom wrestler when I first started watching Stardom back in 2023. The thing about Suzu Suzuki that really stands out to me is her moveset. She has an immaculate moveset, which I've seen her do high flying moves, technical moves, everything and everything in between. Suzu Suzuki is mainly known for her hardcore style wrestling. Um, but she's just fantastic at everything. She has one of the best finishers in wrestling right now with the tequila shot. But she also has a pretty good character too. She's only 22 years old. She has so much potential. One thing I think about Suzu Suzuki is like to say a little negative here, and it's not from her per se. I think Stardom has done her a they've done her a disservice. Now, back in 2023, Suzu Suzuki was positioned as to be one of the top stars in Stardom. You know, she won the 5-star Grand Prix. She had big matches with Julia. She she was set to win the red belt, but for some reason, I don't know if it was just a change in direction or what it was, but they were not able to capitalize on Suzu's popularity at the time. And one of the reasons I think like fans were more behind Micah too at that time. They really wanted to see Micah win the red belt too. But personally, and Micah is another one of my top 5 favorite wrestlers. But at the time, I really wanted to see Suzu win that red belt. But, like I said, I feel like Stardom not pushing her as a huge star is kind of a disservice to her since she's so good. And I know right now she's in a feud with Saya Kamatani for the red belt, which I don't think she's going to win, but I think it's a good opportunity for her to kind of show who she is and show more of her character work and show why she to be, belongs in that position and why she should be fighting for the red belt. I honestly, in my opinion, I would like to see Suzu become a freelancer. I would like to see her leave Stardom and to become a freelancer, kind of in the same ilk as Sarai. And I think if she's able to go out there and just put on fantastic matches with some of the best wrestlers in the world, I think she would be a top Joshi wrestler easily. But anyways, a match I would suggest if you are looking into checking out Suzu Suzuki, I would suggest the finals of the 5-star Grand Prix in 2023. It was her versus Micah, and that's probably that's my favorite Suzu Suzuki match, and probably one of my favorite Stardom matches. So, like I said, underappreciated, underrated from Stardom, Suzu Suzuki. All right, next I'm going to talk about who I think is underrated and underappreciated in Marigold. And that wrestler is Misa Matsui. So when Marigold first started, you had a pretty loaded roster, not a big one per se, but you had some pretty solid wrestlers there. You had the 5 girls from Stardom, and then you also had a ton of the actress girls, which I wasn't familiar with. A lot of them stood out to me, Misa Matsui being one of the names. But with a roster, which, like I said, is not really a big roster, but you have so many talented wrestlers on the Marigold roster. And I just feel like Misa Matsui has been kind of overshadowed by some of the bigger names like Miku Anu, Natsumi Shozuki, Yuzuki, and some of the girls from Stardom as well. But that doesn't mean that I don't think Misa Matsui is still one of the very best in-ring workers in Marigold. She's a very solid performer. I think it's just finding the right opportunity for her to really showcase what she has. One of the matches that I really suggest if you want to check out Misa Matsui more within Marigold would be at Summer Destiny of last year. She took on Natsumi Shozuki for the super flyweight title. It was the finals of the super flyweight title tournament, and it was her versus Natsumi, and it was a really solid match, which I honestly thought Misa was going to win, and I thought she was going to carry that belt and really, be the one to establish that belt, but they went with the veteran. But like I said, Misa Matsui is still a fantastic wrestler. Recently, she had a tag match, which was her and Mirai versus Natsumi and Miku Anu. And what a terrific match it was. But I think Misa really stood out in that match. And then she hit that running power bomb for the finish and ended up pinning the former champion Natsumi. Shozuki, and then ended up challenging Yuzuki for the super flyweight belt, after Yuzuki's defense. So I'm hoping that they really start pushing Misa Matsui a little more. All right, next from WWE, my underrated and underappreciated wrestler is Michin Mia Yim. Now, I kind of went back and forth with who I wanted in this spot. I was going to go with Bird Lady Lyra Valkyrie as my pick here, but I feel like she just won the Women's Intercontinental title, and I don't feel like she's that underappreciated. But like I said, I think I'm gonna make some more, episodes in this topic. But Miriam is one of those solid workhorse wrestlers that's been around in WWE for a couple of years now. And whether it was her in NXT or her on the main roster, I think Miriam is one of those wrestlers that is not really talked about or really pushed heavily, but I think she personifies what a good, solid workhorse mid-card champion can be. And I know she lost her match. She lost 2 matches against Chelsea Green for that Women's United States title. But I hope that she eventually captures that title. Mia Yim, she's such a good wrestler in ring. Her character is very good. She has a very good look about her too. Um, they just need to put more. I think they just need to put, give her more time. And I really think that they could really capitalize on having Mia Yim as their Women's United States champion. A match, if you want to look into Mia Yim more, I would suggest would be, I think it was in 2020, and it was the Women's War Games Advantage match. And it was her versus Io Sky. And it was a ladder match for the advantage. And she did such an outstanding job in that match, including taking that one scary, scary bump where she basically got pushed off the ladder and went through a table to the outside. And she got injured during that, but just a fantastic wrestler. Very easy to get behind. So yeah, that's my underappreciated, underrated wrestler for WWE. Well, that's pretty much it for this episode. Once again, you can listen to me on YouTube and Spotify, and also follow me on Twitter and follow me on Blue Sky. Thank you so much for listening. Peace out.